If I could only figure out how to get my team motivated.
We are never going to get this project done on time.
Oh my God, my payroll numbers are insane. Why are we having all this overtime?
Do you have these or similar employee problems? Do you feel like some of your employees are just there for a paycheck? Tired of recruiting, interviewing, onboarding, and training just to find out you must do it all over again? Then it's time for you to find out how to have outrageously awesome employees. Sit back, buckle up, and get ready because we're about to drop a knowledge bomb on you. Please welcome to the mic the host of the show, the man who puts the human in human resources, the 007 of team building, the emperor of employee engagement, Randy Starr.
Okay, hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of How to Have Outrageously Awesome Employees. Today we have a special guest, Abigail Schieber. She is a human resources manager for Kindred at Home. How are you today, Abigail?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent, thanks. And thank you very much for joining us. This is going to be fun. I promise it won't take too terribly long. We like to keep them to around 30 minutes if possible. And I know I'll give this away. We spoke before we started the actual episode, and Abigail is in the frozen north. So she's up in, it was at Minnesota, right?
Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. So she's cold, so she'll be in a hurry. Abigail, please tell us just a little bit about your background, positions that you've held, what you do now, where you work, and things like that about yourself, please.
Sure. Well, I've been in HR close to 20 years now. I'm aging myself. The bulk of my career has been in nonprofit healthcare. And this last year, I moved back to healthcare, but now I work for a for-profit organization. Prior to my tenure here, I worked in the water treatment and also higher education. For about 9 years, I was an adjunct faculty member teaching HR-related courses to working professionals who were wanting to finish up their 4-year degree.
Okay, that's extra awesome. You actually taught HR. Not only are you an HR professional, you taught people.
And actually, those students taught me more. I got way more out of them. I retained so much and built relationships and learned a whole lot from them.
Isn't it crazy how you learn when you teach?
Oh, and if you don't, I think it's a shame.
Yeah, I agree, because I know I do a lot of like seminars, that type of stand in front of people and talk, like a classroom in a way, workshops, that type of thing. And I've never go to one of those and come away and not think, wow, I learned something.
Absolutely.
I think you learn more when you teach than when you're being taught. So what is it about HR that you have found so interesting and compelling to keep you in that for over almost 20 years now?
Yes. For me, I need a lot of variety. I get bored relatively easily, and something that can capture my attention and hold it is very important to me. So I really like working on things, some days that are very analytical. Maybe it's a wage compression project. Maybe it's employee relation investigation kind of thing. And so it uses both sides of my brain, and it's never repetitive.
And as technology comes into HR, there's a lot more analytics to take a look at too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just the method of how we communicate has changed.
Right.
I remember thinking probably in like the early part of the 2000s, I would never text my boss or text employees. And now that's almost the first way to get in contact with anyone.
So you, in your organization at Kindred at Home, you do communicate through text messaging to everybody?
Not in I guess, a global perspective. It might be just individual. If somebody needs to reach me or I need to reach them, it's better just to text them, hey, do you have 5 minutes? Kind of thing. I work in an organization that is national. So we're in 17 different states.
Wow.
And so if you need to reach somebody quickly, text is the best way of doing so.
But you're taking advantage of technology to keep communication lines open with folks.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so can you tell us a story about one time where, well, let's just say your greatest accomplishment. What do you feel like your greatest accomplishment is in HR?
When I was reading that question, I kind of laughed because when you work in HR, it can be very isolating. And in fact, people tend to avoid HR as much as they can. There's this perception that, oh, if you go to HR, you're in trouble. And so nothing is more challenging for me than walking into a room with people having fun, and then they see you and they're like, oh crap, it's HR. And then they stop. So, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm fine, I promise. And so I guess the biggest accomplishment for me is the fact that I've changed that perception wherever I've worked. And really, HR has been viewed as a resource, as a collaborative partner, as a business partner, as somebody who managers want to run ideas by and get your perspective.
So you have successfully rid yourself of the principal's office syndrome.
I definitely try. I'll never own that I've won everyone over, but I really work hard at that.
It's a challenge for
Yeah.
sure. Tell us what you do currently in your current position to help your employees, whether it be your HR employees or employees within your facility. How do you help them grow?
I think by helping them grow, first you have to be able to get them to trust you, and getting them to know about you, even a little bit on a personal level, like, hey, letting them know that you're a real person, and you just want to have some kind of connection. And then once you have that, I really, I'm a big believer of pushing people to their limits. And what I mean by that is not upsetting them, but engaging them in projects that might be a little bit out of their comfort zone. In addition to that, it could be anywhere from working with them collaboratively on a project, or getting their idea about a new policy, a new program, and then slowly getting, like I said, getting their trust and their buy-in in you, where they understand that you truly want what's best for them.
How do you go about gaining that trust?
It doesn't happen overnight. It's definitely a work in progress. It's answering their emails in a timely manner. It's answering their calls in a timely manner, their text messages, whatever. And just, I guess, being friendly. It's a variety of different things.
So you are available.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Approachable.
Approachable, available. You don't not respond, which would be ignoring. You don't ignore them. They're high up on your priority list.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us about a time when you've helped a particular employee, overcome a challenge.
And, I think we do this as HR professionals on a daily basis. Whether it's a manager who is having issues with an employee, even today, I got an email about a particular nurse who kind of has a negative attitude, and learned that a coworker was leaving. and during an all-staff meeting found out where the employee was going and high-fived the employee in front of the whole group. So, and the manager, of course, is pretty upset and thinks that's just awful and it's going to impact business. But then also helping that manager realize, is it really that big of a deal? What was the employee's, why did the employee do that? Your perception is, you know, it was a dig to you and the branch, but for all we know, it could have been something else. And every employee should have their day in court.
Yes, and sometimes we just misunderstand things too.
Communication.
It's happened to me a couple of times.
And maybe human resources should be called as human communication.
That's a great idea. Human communication department. Okay. So
I think much gets lost in translation or gets interpreted incorrectly.
I would agree. And I deal with, and I know this isn't what you're talking about, but I deal with tons of foreign language.
Oh.
So it's amazing what you ask and they respond, and you're like, well, that doesn't have anything to do with what I asked. So, but the same thing happens in the same language too, from English to English. Yeah. What type of training do you feel is the most important for your employees?
And, you know, I broke that out for managers. I broke it out into two segments, managers and employees. And so for managers, I really think it's simply just how to manage, how to communicate to employees. Don't assume that they know. Ask for what you expect. And then also reminding them repeatedly, if it wasn't written, it didn't happen. I could write a billboard and post it everywhere, I think, and people still would forget that. And then for employees, really conflict management, how to deal with coworkers, how to deal with customers, you know, and having some kind of universal kind of professionalism. You know, one manager might call me, hey, is it okay if somebody dyes their hair purple? Or another one, is it okay to have a nose ring? What about tattoos showing? Well, help me how that impacts their role. And talking them off the ledge on that. So,
yeah, I think a lot of the things that we go through like that, like tattoos exposed and unique hair colors, and we tend to group all that into one. I mean, the big conversation right now is about millennials, and they place everybody in a certain age into this one bucket. It's like, I don't think so. I don't think we should do that. That doesn't seem right. Because
no.
I have a daughter that's a millennial, and the things that people are saying, she hears, and she's like, no, that's not the way I am or any of her friends are. So anyhow, yeah. I'm going to ask you this question. I ask everyone this question, and everybody has answered it the same. Tell us about your typical day and what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love when I have a plan and I have like a to-do list. It rarely gets completed. I'll walk in and maybe there's an investigation. Today it's been relatively quiet, and I think it's because it's Easter Monday and maybe a lot of managers and employees are out. But it's usually emails, hey, Abby, how would you walk me through this? Or how would you handle this? And I joke about my name being Abby. I'm like that columnist, Dear Abby. And today I've been working on a project. We're getting ready to roll out a brand new stay survey program as well as an exit interview program. So I've been working on that. Last week I was very heavily investigating some compliance reports. And then every day it could be anywhere from a handful to a couple of dozen manager questions and phone calls.
Okay, so You have not changed. Everyone so far has basically said there is no such thing as a typical day.
Yeah.
Not in HR.
Right.
So would you say that in a day where you have a to-do list and you have a plan and you have things that you need to get accomplished that don't get accomplished, is it because of the people coming to you? We used to call it putting out fires, had to put out fires. Is it things just pop up? I mean, you have no control. It's people. You don't know what's going to happen, right?
Correct. I am a firefighter most days.
You need to get a little helmet with the red light on it that spins around. Okay, so I've got one more question for you. And this is a question where, let's say that there's someone watching, someone listening that is interested in possibly getting into a career in human resources. What advice or what would you tell them to help them become successful in that quest?
This was something I usually brought up with my students. And I would ask the question, why do you want to be in HR? And I would say 90% would say, oh, I just want to help people. And, oh, I like people. And I would tell them that HR is not for you. HR, there's a lot of days where you leave and you're not necessarily fond of anybody that has a pulse. Because at times you have to be the bearer of bad news. You have to mediate conversations. And you have to help managers make tough decisions. And so what I really share about my personal experience, why I work in HR, is a variety factor. I really enjoy that. And then I'm very passionate about equality. And I want to ensure that everyone who I'm responsible for in the territories that I work are treated fairly and consistently. And at times managers want to wring my neck because I make them manage their staff. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know as a teacher, you hear things from students that are like, you're like, yep, you're not in the right spot. And you're right though. Human resources can be extremely difficult because you're dealing with people. And when you deal with people, and sometimes when you are the bearer of bad news, or sometimes when you have a difficult decision to make, you're not only affecting the person, the unit, the company, but you're affecting their family and all their friends. It's a big responsibility, and it's not something to be taken lightly. So, yeah, great stuff. Abby, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Is there anything that you'd like to say before we conclude this episode?
No, just thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm honored to be a part of this.
Oh, it's awesome. We were glad to have you so much. For those of you who are watching for the first time, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get notified when we publish new podcasts or new YouTube videos on the channel. So thanks a lot, everybody, and you guys have a great day.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Please feel free to contact Randy with any questions about team building or employee engagement issues. Subscribe to this channel so you'll be notified when new episodes are published.